Welcome to Miss Chris's Farm Feast. And this is the zucchini that we picked from the garden. And we're going to be chopping it up and making it into a delicious zucchini soup. And it's a really great way for you to use all your zucchinis that you're not sure what to do with. It freezes well. You can keep it up to 6 months probably in the freezer. You can make it without cream so it won't curdle, and then when you heat it up, you can add cream to it. So it's a very good way to use your zucchinis when you're not sure what to do with them. So here we go. I'm going to put my zucchinis over here. I'm trying not to let them go too big like I did last year. So here we go. So I'm going to turn on the stove. I have zucchini already chopped up. This is about one medium zucchini like the one we picked. And one large chopped Vidalia onion. I picked some beautiful herbs from the garden. It's scallions, oregano, basil, a couple leaves of sage, and parsley. So we're going to put some olive oil in the pot, a generous amount, maybe 3 tablespoons. And we'll let that heat up a bit. I'm going to put in my onions first. I'm going to let it sizzle a little. Let that cook down. This is a very easy recipe. It only has, the herbs are about maybe 4 or 5 ingredients, but then the zucchini and the onion. A little bit of garlic powder we're going to put in. The chicken broth. You could just get a boxed chicken broth. So let this simmer away. Get nice and, you don't want it to get caramelized, but if you want to just make it so that it's soft, so that when you puree it, it'll get smooth. Sometimes I put I'm going to put a little salt and pepper in the onions. You want to layer the flavor. So I'm not going to put my garlic powder in yet. I'm going to wait till all the vegetables are incorporated and sizzling together, and then I'll put the garlic powder. And another idea for making your onions a little bit sweeter, this is a Vidalia onion, so it's already sweet, but to give it enhance it a little bit more with the sweetness, you can add a pinch of sugar. Just a pinch. Now as the onions soften, I'm going to add my zucchini. And I used a big one like the one that I picked. It's about this size. And the middle to the bottom of this zucchini has a lot of large seeds. So, and the skin is a little bit tougher. So I skinned it, or peeled the skin, and then I seeded it, and then I chopped it up. But the top of it, the skin wasn't so tough, and there weren't as many seeds, so I left the green on that part of the zucchini. I'm just going to add a little bit more salt, just a tad, because I'm going to have this sodium in the chicken broth. So I'm going to add a little more pepper. And I'm just going to simmer this, not simmer it, saute it, until the zucchini starts getting soft and the onions start getting translucent. So one of the things that I love about the summer garden is all the fresh vegetables that you can go and just pick the tomatoes. I have a lot of cherry tomatoes and I just snack on them, and I snack on the beans. I have a lot of purple beans right now that are really prolific, and I've been doing sauteed string beans, and I put string beans in on a sheet pan with different vegetables like zucchini, onions, and peppers with sausage, and that was really good. The string beans became soft and roasted with the zucchini and the onions and peppers, and it was so delicious. It was a little charred, and you can serve that over pasta, and you can even put cherry tomatoes on that sheet pan with them, and that'll give it a little more Italian flavor, and especially fresh herbs. I have so many herbs right now that are doing really well, especially basil right now. So I put oregano, basil, sage, they're all doing really well. And that's what's going in this soup. So at this point, the zucchini and the onions are soft. I'm going to add my herbs. Okay, I'm just sauteing them until they just soften a little bit. Because you want to be able to puree this, and you don't want chunky pieces of leaves of the herbs to get in the way. So I'm going to add a little more pepper, and again, as you introduce more ingredients, you want to layer the flavor. So a little bit of salt and pepper with each layer of gives the dish more depth of flavor. So I'm just going to cut into one of the zucchini pieces that have the skin on. Just make sure that it's soft enough. And it is. So I'm going to add the chicken broth in. You can, if you're a vegetarian, you can just add vegetable broth, and that would just be just as delightful. Now I'm just adding 1 box of broth. And I'm going to let this come to a medium simmer. And at this time I'm going to add my garlic powder, about a tablespoon. So I just eyeball it. And then a little bit of Maggi. This is a German condiment. It is a little like Worcestershire, but it has more of a caramely taste to it. And it's like bouillon, and it enhances the flavor of the soup. So I'm just going to put a little bit now, and then at the very end I'm going to top it with the Maggi. So at this point I'm going to let it simmer for about a half an hour, and that'll give the soup some time to meld all those flavors together. Okay, so we're back after it's been simmering for a half an hour, and my hand blender broke, which is a horror because I love it so much and I've had it for so long. But we have our handy dandy food processor, and we're going to ladle the soup with the chunks of onions and zucchini into the food processor, and we'll puree it that way. So, and you want to do it in batches because it's going to get too hot and it'll just make a mess if you don't do it in batches. So I have this, and I'm going to pulse it. And whoopsie. So I like it a little chunky. I don't like it like smooth like a puree. So, and I'm going to take the zucchini away from the chicken broth in this last batch, so it's not so liquidy. And then now I'm going to use my steam strainer to get out the zucchini, so not having so much liquid in the soup. Otherwise it's more like a broth than a soup. I want to get the big chunks of zucchini. There we go. And then you can add chicken broth if you need to make it thinner. So I just want to check it, see if I want to make it smoother or if I want to keep it chunky. This is very chunky. I think I want to make it smoother. And I'll taste it. Definitely smoother. Taste it again. Perfect. All right, so what I'm going to do, I don't need any more liquid, so I have this excess chicken broth that I'm going to just save for another time. And I'll tell you what, that extra chicken broth, you can freeze that, and then, or you could just put it in the fridge for another day, but it's hot right now, so I don't normally eat a lot of soups in the summertime, but I do freeze a lot of soups in the summertime for the winter. And then I like to thaw out a pint of chicken broth and sip on it on a cold winter day with a sandwich. It's delicious. And all that flavor from the onions and the zucchini and the garlic powder and all the herbs are in that broth. So don't waste it. So I'm going to pour this into my pot. It's all in my pot, back in my pot. So I'm going to add my cream to it. And this is the point where if you want to freeze it, you can. Do it at this stage. Because if you put cream in and then freeze it, it'll curdle and it won't taste that great. So this is the point where you cool it, of course, and then freeze it. And then when you thaw it, then you add your cream. That is the best idea. So I'm going to pour in my cream. And I used half and half. You can use heavy cream if you want. And at this point, you can put it back on the stove on low and just let it simmer some more. But I'm going to taste it right now and let you know what it's like. So I'm tasting it. It needs one thing. More of this.